Look at this conference, and the momentum is with us. We have the momentum on our side around cloud. We also have all the capabilities. And you just walk through the Expo, you'll see, as an industry, we have the momentum and we have the capabilities. What we have to do is we have to help our customers really drive change and drive this business change. And that's what we have to do, and that has to be our focus. And you're going to hear that as kind of my key message today. This is a quote from Michael, and I think he's right. And this is on a recent quote. It's a little aged, but I think it's right. And in a time when he said this, a lot of the discussion back then, and still even today, was around kind of the technology related to cloud. And Michael said, hey, cloud isn't a destination. And it's not a single path. But it's a transformation. It's a transformation that puts IT right at the center of the enterprise. And it basically gives IT, it creates IT as a business leader. And it basically makes IT an enabler of business value creation. And that's pretty different. That's how we kind of think about cloud. As I said, there's a lot to consider for our customers. And you kind of read about cloud every day, and you come to a conference like this, and you can get overwhelmed pretty quickly. And those of us in the room, a lot of us, we're the sponsors within our company of cloud, or we're cloud evangelists, or we're building clouds, and so this is our profession. And even then, it can be overwhelming. And I think what we have to do is help our customers drive this change. I mean, that's what we have to do as an industry. And if you think about it, how do you get people to change? It's a pretty repeatable process. The first thing you have to do is you have to make them unhappy with the status quo. I think we have a checkbox on that one. The second thing you have to do is you have to show them a better way. And you can take any customer through this expo today, tomorrow, and we could show them a better way. And then the third thing you have to do is you have to help them take the first few steps. And I think this is kind of the critical path of where we are now. And this is our responsibility to help these customers change, and change for the benefit of the business. If you think about the promise of cloud, what we can tell our customers and what we can drive the benefit of the business is, we can transform our customers' businesses. And we're thinking about cloud as a business model, not a technology. Cloud is a business model. The second thing we can do is we can help our customers accelerate their growth. The third thing is we can empower their workforces. And the fourth is we can give them back time to go invest in innovation. And this is really key. As we think about that, we think about, okay, well, how do we drive the third step, helping customers take the first few steps? How do we drive this change? And we think about kind of three key things. The first is thinking about it as a business model. And so when we start our conversations, when we have our conversations, not starting with the technology, starting with the business model and how we're going to change the customer's business model with cloud. The second thing is taking this, which can be a pretty complex and a long process. It's a journey, and breaking that down into sizable chunks that our customers can bite off. And they can do that in a way that returns value throughout that whole process. We have to make that really transparent and easy for our customers to understand. And then the third thing here is we have to help our customers, kind of meet our customers where they are. What I mean by that is our customers have a legacy today in most cases. And we have to recognize that. We have to help them take this journey recognizing that they've made investments. And that's going to kind of lead us in this kind of hybrid world. And how do we help customers through that hybrid world? I'm going to talk about each one of those three, and I'm going to give some customer examples of how some customers are doing that. The first one, a little more on, is building the overarching strategy. And I talked about starting that strategy as really a business model. And you kind of see the bullet points below that will kind of fall out once you start talking about the business model and how we're going to change the business model. But a lot of times we put those bullet points first ahead of that, right? And so we need to think about how we're doing that. There's a couple of great case studies here I think are really excellent around how this could work. First is eBay. And so when we talked to eBay, they said, we're trying to evolve our business model. We're starting out some new service lines, and we're seeing massive growth. And we need to be able to handle this growth. And at the same time, within eBay, IT really is the company, if you think about it that way. And so a lot of the costs, the predominant portion of the costs of eBay are in the IT. And so they had to figure out a way to drive massive scale, and they wanted to move the business model more to a just-in-time scale. And they wanted to figure out how to take costs out of what was one of the predominant costs, which is data center costs. And so we worked with eBay to do this, and we designed a system that kind of met that need. And if you think about what I said, starting with that business model, what we ended up doing, get this, the engineers out here will love this. We designed a container system that basically we fully provisioned with around 2,000 or so servers, just give or take. And we shipped that fully provisioned container to eBay. And we had cranes standing by to lift those up and put them on the roof and turn them on almost immediately, so that customer could start using that capacity almost real time. Now, what you're going to love as you're an engineer is this was one of the requirements that the customer had is they really wanted to start figuring out how to take costs out of the facility itself. And one of the top targets was energy costs. And so, we deployed this data center, this modular data center in August. And one of the requirements that the customer had was, I want this to be in my, or near my facility, which is in the middle of the desert. And so this location has, pretty regularly 120 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures. And the data center would be fully exposed on a roof to the sun. We deployed this data center, like I said, with cranes, and we shipped them on flatbeds, picked them up on cranes, put them there. And we achieved this. We had about 2,000 servers running that container with about 30 kilowatts of power to each rack. There were about 20 racks. And basically did this with no air conditioning. There is no air conditioning in this container. So that's pretty cool if you think about that. And this was in August, 115 degree Fahrenheit. And we're doing that. eBay measured this data center at a power to efficiency ratio of about 1.043. And compared to kind of typical data centers, that's less than, they're typically twice that or a little bit more. So pretty amazing story, starting with the customer business model, how they want to morph that, and figuring out a way to go solve that problem. The next customer is Intelligent Light, and this is actually a local New Jersey customer. And what they do is they build software, computation, fluid dynamic software for engineering, for people who are building motors and cars and airplanes and mechanicals. And basically, they were trying to change their business model. They said, look, these data sets are getting so big, and our end customers have to stand up these massive HPC environments and maintain that cost, and then they also have to process these jobs, and the processing alone can take months, because the data sets are so huge to get the results. So then the engineers can kind of go react on them. And so they said, look, we want to kind of change this model. So what we did in this case is we worked with one of our partners, cloud partners called R Systems, and we stood up a cloud bursting HPC. And this basically allowed for those workloads to be burst into our HPC cloud and processed. And we were working this through, and it's kind of, this saying, necessity is the mother of innovation. Our customer got a call and said, hey, he had a job he had to do for a new racing bike. And they wanted to kind of test all the drag coefficients on this bike and really optimize it. But the only problem was they had 2 weeks to kind of turn around the results on this. And they kind of did the math and they said, okay, this is going to take about 8 weeks to actually process the job. So we actually got kind of moved to our strategy kind of moved forward. And our customer took the solution and over the weekend started using it. And by Monday morning they had the results for this bike, and they started figuring out how to make the wheels more optimal, to reduce drag and all that stuff. So it's a great story. Again, it's a business model change that then evolves into how we use cloud. Okay, the next thing we said is, hey, we got to help our customers take a pragmatic approach. And I just think of this as, help me understand the basic roadmap, and then help me fund, myself as I go through that roadmap, get the benefits of it. And there's a great story here how we did that that I think is pretty comprehensive. And this is for the University of Kentucky. If you've ever worked with these guys, their CIO, Vince Kellen, is a very, very visionary CIO. And he has, he has this cloud vision of where he wants to put everything in the cloud, and he's very, very progressive. And so we work with Vince, and his business model changed, and he's trying to drive. And he says, "Look, I got two things, maybe three. One is I have an aging data center on campus that has a lot of risk. I mean, it's aging. The second thing, that data center is right in the prime part of my campus. And I'd like to reclaim that. The third is, I'm a university. And I don't have a lot of funding, and so I need to figure out how to do a lot with a little. And then the last thing was, I've got all these colleges out there within the UK system that are constantly trying to stand up SAP environments, basically sandboxes, so that they can do their work. And I'm not able to respond to them. And I want to be responsive. And so that was the business model change, and we used the cloud solution. So what we did is we worked with them, we said, okay, let's break this down into steps, okay? And knowing kind of how universities work and that, we broke it down into three basic steps, and we did a proof of concept in each one to basically prove the results, and now he's going through a larger transformation. But effectively what we did is we said, okay, step one, looking at the problem, you're going to have to go update your legacy environment. He was running his SAP environment in a Unix environment, his SAP in a Unix environment. And he really needed to modernize that environment and virtualize it. So that was step one. We laid that out, we got that done, and we proved it and said, okay, now, got some value out of that. Now the next thing, Vince, we want to do is we want to help you with this responsiveness issue. So the next piece was to basically put orchestration and self-service on top of that to provide him a private cloud. And that was step two. And he was able to see the value from that. And then the third piece is we worked with him to figure out how to take his SAP capacity and move that into our public cloud, our secure public cloud. And as he started really looking through this process, started looking at his costs. So he looked at his whole environment of SAP, and he figured out that there was a very large share of that cost that was tied up in dev, test, staging, and QA. And he said, okay, all that stuff all goes over here, right? And then the other piece of that is, in being in a university, there's a lot, it's cyclical, right? With student registration and other times where he wants to basically burst into our capacity for even production. And so this is a great example of how we took a big vision and broke that down into sizable chunks that we could go help this customer take the first few steps on each one, and now he's undertaking a larger, roll that out across the university. The third is, just kind of accepting that our customers they have a legacy, and they need help with that, and they don't, in many cases, don't want to just throw out their investments. They want to figure out how to leverage their investments, which makes a lot of sense. And so, helping our customers with this hybrid use case. I've got two examples here of how I've seen this done pretty well. The first is with Gradaphone, and this is one of our customers in Latin America. This particular customer, they have a really cool solution. And for emerging markets like they serve, they basically provide a free phone service in high traffic or high density locations. And so, for example, they have these kiosks like in a supermarket or a mall, and you can go up and you can make a phone call, and there's a display on the kiosk, and it's basically giving you kind of localized advertising. So advertising for businesses that are in that area that you can transact on or find more about. So it's basically providing advertising, and they're giving their customers phone call. And a lot of these markets that they serve, going and buying a cell phone is just not realistic for a great percentage of the population. So this is a cool company. Their business model was, look, everywhere I go put these, and imagine they're in emerging markets, and so they're putting these in places that aren't really convenient in a lot of cases. And they had to put a dedicated infrastructure for each place. And that was causing two problems. One was they're a small company and they're trying to grow really fast, so there was a capital problem. The second was basically they have to kind of manage all that, and it just takes time, right? So what we did is we took their application, we helped them build out the kiosk. We took that application and move it into our cloud. And that application that's serving up to that kiosk now is all running in Dell's cloud. And that's a great example. You know, if you think about what that customer saved, and this is probably about 3 months now since we've done this. They took about 40% of their time out of the process of deploying a new one, and they saved about 50% of their operational costs every time they do that. And so if you're a small company trying to grow really fast and get these kiosks everywhere, which is what they're trying to do, that's huge, right? That's a huge business model advantage. The next example is OneWorld. OneWorld Alliance. You're probably familiar with that. If you good chance you might have flown here on one of their partner airlines. OneWorld, if you think about what they do, it's like the mother of all complexity. They're taking all these different legacy airline systems and trying to integrate them together so that they have good data across all of them. Because as a flyer, if you show up, you're an American Airlines customer and you want to go travel on BA, you expect to get your miles, right? You're going to be upset if you don't. And so the value that they're providing is that integration. But that's hard. That's really hard. But it's the business model, right? And so what we did with this customer is we've recently stood up what we're calling a cloud integration hub, and we're leveraging our Boomi asset to do this, cloud integration asset. And what we're able to do is basically create this cloud, it's kind of like a cloud exchange, information exchange. And we basically integrate the information from these different airlines into a cloud hub that basically is serving up and making sure that information is flowing across all the members. Now, what this does kind of two things. One is this is historically has been a very complex and costly thing to manage the integration before this. So it really simplifies that, streamlines it, and takes a lot of costs out. But the second thing, and maybe even more important, or definitely equally as important, it will allow them to expand. Because that was the other thing that they were trying to do, is figure out, okay, how do I go expand my member partners? And they were really having trouble doing that because the integration cost and the time was just so high. So now that they can do that really, really quickly and easily. In terms of Dell, Dell has Dell's view of this cloud is exactly. I get this question a lot. I actually got a lot here. Is hey, what's Dell's plan in the cloud? It's exactly what I said earlier. We expect to help customers figure out how to transform their businesses, how to accelerate their growth, how to empower their employees, and how to spend more time innovating. That's our plan for the cloud. It's kind of that simple. And we've put together a set of capabilities and offers and solutions that will help our customers do that. Whether it's with the Wise acquisition on the virtual desktop side, our services acquisition for Pro Systems, Sonic Wall, or SecureWorks in terms of how we're securing our cloud, our Boomi integration that I just talked about, or our Aperture DR in the cloud. All those investments, those were all meant to build this ecosystem for our customers from the very beginning of the desktop to the data center. Well, I'm about out of time, and I'm going to basically leave you with my key message. And we've got some stats here on the screen you can see in terms of what Dell's achieved with both for ourselves and for our customers. Look, the momentum is on our side. That's how I started this conversation. It's on our side. You can feel it. I mean, the buzz in this conference and going out and talking to our customers, they all want to talk about cloud. And the second piece is we have the capabilities. We absolutely have the capabilities. It is our responsibility to help our customers make this change. And I think if we all do that and we focus on that next year, we'll have another great conference. So thank you very much.